The leadership crisis rocking the Lagos State House's Assembly took a dramatic turn yesterday as operatives stormed the Assembly complex, escalating tensions within the legislative body. In the early hours of yesterday, operatives from the Department of State Services, DSS, and the Nigerian police forcefully entered the Assembly complex, allegedly sealing off the offices of Speaker Mojisola Meranda, Deputy Speaker Fatai Mojisola Adebola, and the Clerk of the House. However, there have been claims following a viral letter that the DSS was invited to maintain law and order at the complex against the disgruntled former Speaker of the House, Mudashiru Obasa. Speaker Meranda proceeded to preside over the day's legislative session yesterday, reaffirming a leadership position in a strong show of support. Assembly members passed a unanimous vote of confidence in her, solidifying her authority within the House.
I want to move vote of confidence on yourself by all members of this sacred House of Assembly to show that if truly it is because we removed the former Speaker of this Assembly and elected you, who we believe in, as the Speaker, we will display it here live and clear for people to know that this decision was done by the members of this State House of Assembly, duly elected, duly elected. It's on this note I want to ask that members, please, if you can affirm your vote of confidence in Madam Speaker, kindly raise up your hands, please. Can we please stand?
And that's her colleagues showing their vote of confidence. Now let's share with you what you need to know. Former Speaker Mudashiru Obasa was impeached on January 13, 2025 over misconduct allegations leading to Mojisola Meranda's election as the first female speaker. Mudashiru Obasa has insisted that his impeachment was illegal and has sued both Mojisola Meranda and the Lagos Assembly. The Assembly complex remains under heightened security with uncertainty surrounding the leadership dispute and the legislative activities. The Lagos State House of Assembly has indefinitely adjourned its plenary sessions following recent leadership tensions. Joining us now to discuss the implications of yesterday's event on legislative activities in the state and the ongoing leadership tussle is 2023 Lagos State Governorship candidate Funso Doherty. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thanks for joining us.
So, does it give you cause for concern that if you maybe decide to come out run for office in at the next elections, that this might be the kind of drama that you will meet with the Lagos State House of Assembly? I mean, it's been like activity and surprise upon surprise since January 13th when he was let go. I'd like to use that loosely. But first of all, I say, do you worry about the state of the Lagos State House of Assembly? And did you see this happening, or did you see this coming?
Well, I mean, this is something that is of concern, I think, to every Lagosian, and actually should be to every Nigerian. I think it is evidence in many ways of kind of dysfunctional government at work, right? And there are a number of things we can point to, as evidence of that. First is that, it sends a message in a way that, we are operating almost like a government by proxy, right? Where, there are the people that we see, but there are also forces behind those people who also influence their behaviors and drive a lot of what we see in the public space. And that is problematic in a democracy where people are electing the people who they expect to represent them. I think also this question of separation of powers is another element of the dysfunction, because as we know, the legislature is supposed to be quite different from the executive. And they have their different powers which they should exercise. And I think a lot of what we're seeing here is that there is overlap, I think, between the two in ways that are unhealthy, for our democracy. There's also the question of, dominance. So the dominance of the political space by one political party, in the case of Lagos. And then the dominance within that political party of, a particular power block. And so all of these things, I think, are the underlying reasons and what we see today as symptoms of that. And, these things may work for a while, but after a while, no such hegemonic structure endures forever.
You're very right. And I want to pick up from where you mentioned principle of separation of powers, because yesterday what we saw was a desecration of the hallowed chambers of the State House of Assembly. Under no conditions should the DSS or policemen go to the State House of Assembly unless they're expressly invited by the Speaker or the authorities of the State House of Assembly. Now, looking at the DSS claim that they were invited by the House of Assembly for protection due to threats of a possible Obasa's reinstatement. What do you make of that? And we've seen videos. If you were invited, I don't think that's the way you will act. What's your take on the role of the DSS in yesterday's fiasco?
So I mean, obviously, we're looking from the outside in, but, based on what we see, it's very difficult to take that story at face value, right? And I saw going around social media the letter of invitation and all that. First of all, it's a bit strange that the clerk of the House is writing a letter to instigate actions that are so abhorrent to the owners of the House, who are the legislators within the House. So that's number one. Number two is that if somebody invites you to, because they are concerned about possible breakdown of law and order, your behavior should not exacerbate that situation, right? So there are ways of maintaining a security presence around things to give people the ability to do what they came there to do, which is to sit in plenary, right? So there doesn't need to be any altercation or unless there are underlying, sort of motives, tensions, etc. So again, from the outside in, it's very difficult to see how that story squares with the reality that we see. And as a security agency, coming into a situation that is already fraught with, sort of tensions, there's a behavior and a stance that you take that can either, douse that tension or that can exacerbate it, and security agencies know what to do. So when we see things happen, my sense is usually that they're not happening by accident.
I would just say that, I mean, there are different people who have shared their opinions as to how they feel, but what I've seen is a number of people sharing sentiments in support of the members saying, oh, we are proud of you for standing your ground. Is that a sentiment that you share as well?
Well, everything is not always what you see. I think that the legislatures are the duly elected representative of the people, whatever we might think. Even if they were put there to serve as proxies, they have that power. And so to the extent, if indeed what we're seeing is that they're exercising that power, it's a good thing. At the end of the day, they were elected to do a job, and they have to have both the capacity but also the gravitas and the will to do that work for the benefit of the people. I mean, there's a lot of work for them to do. They should not be spending their time, going up and down on all of these kinds of issues, who is the speaker, who is not the speaker, etc. The speaker is just the first, in a sense, amongst equals, right? And anybody can be the speaker of their choice. So these are mundane issues. If it's not that there are bigger issues behind, which are not issues that relate to the government of the people, but relate to the control of the party structure, the government structure, and so on, which detracts really from the primary objective of government, which is the welfare and security of the people.
So how do we get them back to work? I mean, this has been dragging on for too long. We thought when 32 of a 40-member assembly impeach you, it's done and dusted. It's a slam dunk. But we've seen this back and forth. The former speaker is adamant. He's gone to court, and he's saying the way he was removed was not legitimate. There are also underlying issues of corruption and abuse of office around him. Then there's the unelected GAC. Now, speaking from a Lagosian, a tax-paying, law-abiding citizen's perspective, and you speak for many Lagosians who are watching all this drama unfold. Look, this is not why we elected you there. We're tired of this soap opera. The street lights in Lagos are not working. There's infrastructure decay. We need you to get back to work. What needs to be done as a responsible country? How do we move on from here, and how do we get the legislatures to go there and stop watching over their back with this impeachment drama that we've been witnessing drag on for the last few weeks?
Yeah, so first of all, where you started, which is that, the former speaker has gone to court and all of that, that is perfect, perfectly within his right to do that. And he should, if he thinks that the process was, and that is the normal process. So no one should have a problem with that, right? That's fine, and we should give room for that. Now, should people, be so focused on this on this leadership, that is the legislators themselves? There's so much for them to do. We talk about the Governor's Advisory Council. That's not something that is constituted in our laws, right? That is an administrative thing which the present party, that is the APC, has put in place to kind of, as their means of operation, right? And you have to question what is the role of that body, and to what extent is it adding or detracting from governance in Lagos State?
An unelected body.
An unelected body, we don't know who, we may know who they are individually, but there is no office, in a sense that they represent. And so, we have to be, so not suspicious, but we have to be careful when we see such things, because they are a means by which the authorities, which the people have invested in certain people, can be excised and operated elsewhere. And once that happens, you can start to see things in the public space that you can't explain, right, based on what's going on in the public space, but it's because there are things going on, sort of behind the scenes. So to me, I think that this thing really, at the governance level, if you take away the sort of intra-party issues and intra-party things that may be affecting it, at the governance level, is actually very simple. The speakers, the legislators have come together, from what we understand. They've removed the speaker, they've put another speaker. The speaker is saying that process was wrong. He has gone to court. That's fine. The House should continue doing its work. The court process should continue doing its work. And at the end of the day, it will all resolve. Now, the injection of the security forces is a very troubling thing, because that sort of moves us in a quantum way away from kind of the democratic process. So that we must condemn. We must ensure that that is not part of the process. Return to a normally functioning governance process. Let the House sit. Let the existing speaker preside. If the courts decide that things should be otherwise, then so be it. There are so many things that legislators should be focused on. Just coming here this morning, the route I should have taken, a container fell on that road, so we had to divert through Agege Motor Road. The state of that road, and this is a principal artery.
Yes, to the state capital.
The state of that road, it's just incredible. So there's just so many things that these guys should be focused on, and this is all distraction. At the end of the day, when people sit back and ask themselves that, is my life better for all of this activity of government, all of this expenditure of government, all of this, hula baloo in the public space, year in, year out, democratic process through democratic process, election cycle through election cycle? It's not surprising that people get, discouraged and disengaged from the political process, and we see that in the voter turnout numbers.
Right. You've talked about what should be the priority. Unfortunately, what we see with politics in Nigeria is how politicians oftentimes major on the minors.
Yeah.
And this is not the first time we're seeing this. Our legislators, oftentimes, they've been caught in a number of questionable scenarios where we've seen situations with people running away with the maze, fighting with the maze. In Rivers State, for example, the Rivers State had its own drama with the House of Assembly, the demolition of the House of Assembly complex, even though they will give you an explanation to that. But we've seen how long that has lasted. Do you see that with the way Lagos State's drama has started, do you foresee that this might last longer than we expect? Or do you think that this is something that will be settled in record time? And do you think that this is an arena where the president should maybe step in as a party leader, father of the nation? Do you think that he should probably step in?
So there are a couple of things in that question that you've asked. How long it will last, I don't really have a crystal ball. I think that, the issues that have to do with the operation of the House and all of that, my suspicion is that we will get back to a situation where the House is sitting and all of that, and then the legal process will take its own course, because that's common sense, and that will happen. With respect to kind of, the president and all of that, I think that actually the solution is moving in the other direction. It's not more involvement of the president. It is actually less involvement of the president. Earlier I talked about separation of powers. There's an important element of separation of powers that exists between the federal and the state. Remember that we are a federation. So the state is a federating entity. Don't always assume that the federal will act in the interest of the state.
But they belong to both the same party.
That's where I'm going. That's where I'm going. So I'm saying that already we have a challenge, right? Because there's already that dominance, there's already that overall influence. So I think that what we should be looking to do is to have a situation where, the state and the organs and the functions of government of the state can operate, right, without undue influences from elsewhere. And the federal government is one of those influences.
So that means you are also, I know this is not directly related, so that means you're not also in support of the president intervening in the Rivers State crisis?
I don't, I think there are limited instances where the president should involve himself in any legislative matters at the federal or at the state level. I really do not see. I mean, I see more of a role for maybe the National Assembly, to perhaps intervene, where appropriate with the state legislatures. But I don't see
the executive.
I don't see it as the role of the president to be involved in that. I don't see it as, no, I think it's overreach. I think our presidents in Nigeria generally have too much scope and authority. And, there are various organs and institutions of government that should be operating in their own space, even at the federal level. The influence of the executive over the legislature is too strong. It's too strong.
Now, since the advent of democracy, since 1999, it's almost been a one-party state in Lagos. The APC has metamorphosized from the days of AD to what it's presently known as APC, almost a one-party state. What's the state of opposition in Lagos? Or as the government, being the Lagos State government, as the highest, they have the highest IGR in Nigeria, very viable. They say they're the center of excellence and what have you. They've done such a fantastic job that there's no space for opposition, and the opposition is just discouraged that these guys are so good, we stand no chance. Because what is going on? Or should they be held to higher standards? Yeah,
so it's a very good question. The opposition does not take that view that you've outlined. It is true that in one form or the other, the ruling party has run this state for basically a generation. The position that I think most opposition figures take, and certainly that I do, is that we cannot compare the time that has elapsed with the advantages that we've derived. In other words, how has the quality of life of people improved in the course of a generation? Many have actually witnessed retrogression rather than improvement, right? So I think that there's a whole lot more that can be done, this thing is a process, right? If you look at part of it is discouragement of voters. If you look at Lagos has the lowest voter turnout numbers nationally.
And you think otherwise for sophisticated,
yes,
I mean, the people.
So basically it's telling you that people are, you know, with each election cycle, this ruling party that we talk about is being elected with a smaller and smaller numbers, right? But the terrain is evolving. I don't want to say too much, but as I think going forward, we will see a lot. I certainly remain active, and we will see a lot more in this space going forward. Let me just touch on one thing you said before I leave that, and this question of IGR. You know, there's this whole thing where Lagos State points to, or the Lagos State government points to the fact that IGR has gone from this to this, and and that is their scorecard. They present it as their scorecard. The truth of the matter is that Lagos is a port city, a commercial center, a nerve center, and has been so for centuries. So the fact that revenues are raised in Lagos is only saying one thing, that you have taken taxes from the people, right?
Yes.
So should we clap for you for taking taxes from the people? That's not what we should clap for you for. So, okay, that's the starting point. You have taken taxes from the people. What have you delivered with the taxes that you've taken from the people? How have the people's lives improved? How has their quality of education improved? How has their quality of healthcare improved? How have their per capita incomes improved with this IGR that you have taken? And if you make that assessment on that basis, you probably will reach a different conclusion from just looking at the IGR numbers.
We've run out of time. If you can please answer this in 30 seconds. Whilst we cannot categorically say that Obasa pushed for the violence or the disruption that happened yesterday at the Lagos State House of Assembly, is it expected of him to maybe make a public statement to say, you know, he's not in support of the violence and would follow through the court process? And if that's expected of him, do you actually think he will do that?
As to whether he will do it or not, I cannot say. Would it be a good thing for him to do? I think it would be a good thing for him to do. It would be a statesmanly thing to do. It will show that he's somebody that respects, you know, the rule of law. And I think it will go some way to douse perhaps or to influence people's view about what's going on.
And if he doesn't do that, will that then mean they can link him to being in support of the
I don't think so either. You can't, I mean, I think there are very many angles to this, and I think we should...
Now, in 5 seconds, have we gone past the worst of the crisis?
Which one now?
The State Assembly, yes.
I think that, like I said earlier, I think that the Assembly part of it, I think we are pretty much there. But I think that the underlying issues, because that's just the symptom, the underlying issue which has to do with the hegemony and the sustainability of that and power blocks and power tussles, I think this is just the beginning.
Oh, wow. We don't want to actually see what it will look like. But unfortunately,
thank you so much
we will be following up. Thank you very much for that,
and your time.
for your insight with us.